I used to toss them across the room. We're talking about a phone case where retail boys and cell phone stores reminiscing about our old days. But today, are you going to do an ad? It's not hashtag not a sponsor.
Yeah, no, I wasn't going to call out the brand, but I will say that you were just saying you used to throw these against the wall. I had at a store that I used to run, there were literal dents across
On
from
the
the
floor.
cash wrap where my employees would throw them against the wall.
There's
And
always that
there
like,
was like 3 dents in the wall. I was like, guys, we can't do this anymore.
yeah, there's always that that hardened veteran salesperson at the cell phone store that like would toss it, and he only used Android, and that's who would get everybody else doing the same thing. He was electric at sales. It's classic. This though is the Fantasy Football Lab. I'm Arlen. This is Nate. How you doing, Nate?
Doing good, man. Having a good day. Just ready to have some enjoyable fun on this week 2 lineup
Yeah.
of slate of games that are going on. Man, we need to record earlier in the day.
Yeah, unfortunately, this doesn't get to be our main job. But we've got 125 subscribers, up from last week at 100 and I think or so. So thanks, guys. If you haven't listened to our stuff, or if you haven't subscribed yet or watched many of it, we in the season we kind of flow with the season. So during the season we do some extra stuff. We will talk about strategy, different league types, postseason type of leagues, draft strategies, history of fantasy football, and then we'll also talk about like stashes and stuff. So we're kind of like the ADHD of just passion for fantasy football. These are conversations we always had, and one day we hit record. So throw some comments in the throw some comments in the down below, and we are still 100% hit rate. We reply to everything that comes our way. We love having the conversation, even the hate. All right, so this episode, we're going to be talking about a special app that we both started using because of another channel who is just a tad bit bigger than ours. But first, a word from our intro.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Lab.
Okay, so I have to do 2 drops in a row because it's my favorite drop, and I like to throw it out there. But sometimes we talk about unique league types, formats, settings, everything. We call it fancy football. This one is a little different. It's a totally new take on fantasy football that immediately got me and Nate and I intrigued. We jumped in, and it's a lot of fun. And it's not really taxing. We have started like this Vampire League, the Axe League, which is a little less maintenance than other leagues. And I'm all about starting leagues or starting to do some kind of fantasy football stuff that doesn't take a lot more effort. But first, my favorite drop.
Fancy football.
So fancy.
Ooh, so fancy. Pinky's up. All right, so the name of the app is something that I will look back. What was it?
It's
We should have
Monster
probably
League.
been-
This is
It's
yeah.
Monster League. It's
So
all
this is something
about-
that's just this is something that's just really fun for those that like want to have something new and unique, low effort, like you said, that brings out the little kid in you and the little nerd in you because it's so similar in feel and look and strategy to playing those old school Nintendo Pokemon games on your phone. And
Yeah.
it's called Monster League.
You know, this is so we saw this. We'll give a shout out. I'll link the video in the description, or the link to the video in the description of this video. But Benchwarmer Bran, you've probably seen him online. He does a lot of good shorts, and he did one explaining this. He compared it. I think his words were, if fantasy football and Pokemon had a baby, this would be it. And we saw it, and I think within 5 minutes of seeing the video, I had the lineup set up. So the basic breakdown of this is, think about it as a gotta catch 'em all. You don't have a direct opponent, but you have strengths and weaknesses for each player, and you start with lower level players, and then you pair it up and you try to catch by battling every week somebody on the other side. And the more you get, I think the higher your end score is, or something like that, of like how many people you can also play every week. If you catch early, you're playing some players and getting those points early. And then the value, I think it's just the value of your team, maybe. Still trying to figure this out, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And if you don't end up beating that player, if your fantasy football player you put in that position doesn't beat the one that you're choosing to go against, then you just don't capture that one. You keep that player, and you don't get to add another one to your
Yeah. There's all
collection.
kinds of cool nuances, right? So it's basically a one-on-one battle between each of your players and someone that you select from the other side that you're willing to battle. So for instance, in my lineup, I started the season with JJ McCarthy, Henderson, and Jalen Waddle. So you get to select someone that you're battling against on the other side. So I went with Baker Mayfield, quarterback, Ashton Genty in my running back spot, and Jamar Chase, because I said, why not swing big in one spot? And it ended up working out for me.
That's
And what's cool
huge.
about this, what's cool about this is, like, on the head-to-head, it's who scores more points. But just like in Pokemon, each player is associated with a certain type, an ice type, a fire type, a fighting type, and they have strengths and weaknesses. And if you happen to be competing against someone that has you as one of their weaknesses, your points count 1.25 points more. So it gives you the opportunity to capture a player that you may not naturally score
And in
higher
reverse
against.
too, so you got to be
Yeah.
careful. Have you
Yeah.
seen? I just noticed it. I didn't notice it in week 1, but I noticed it in week 2 that there's like the toggle when you're looking at players to be like primed for you, the one that you have in there that you're going up against. So like
I did
it'll
not notice
sort
that.
that out. So there's a little toggle that you can turn it on, and the ones that you're going to get the bonus with are going to be there. And I didn't go through the bonus as much last week. Did you say you had Henderson?
Yeah, Trayvon Henderson.
That's who you started with? I didn't see that as
Yes.
an option. Maybe I rushed it. That's so dumb. I would have absolutely grabbed him. I have McCarthy, Harvey, and Jerry Jeudy, so I'm not going to do well. But I did go big and go against Joe Burrow, and now I have him. We both benefited from the sluggish Cincinnati start. And then I went against
Banking on it.
McCaffrey. Harvey against McCaffrey, which in hindsight sounds horrible, but he was injured leading up to it, and I thought maybe if he's just out there as a distraction, I get CMC. That didn't work out. And then I went against DK Metcalf and didn't get it by a point. So I only gained one. I gained a quarterback, which sucks because if you're going to take that risk to try to grab someone extra, be really safe, I've learned, with your running back and wide receiver, because the quarterback, you only play one. So I got to swap out and play Burrow this week, but I don't. If like there's an empty running back and an empty wide receiver slot right below, and that are just now empty for me, and I can't capture more players.
Yeah. So I was able to gain Jamar Chase because of his phenomenal output last week, even with Jalen Waddle, who got injured in the game. And I was able to grab Baker, who's on my bench. But now I've got JJ McCarthy this week, Trayvon Henderson, Jalen Waddle, and Jamar Chase all playing for me. So hopefully we start to pick up and I can pick up more players. But I've got a couple of empty roster spots. But it seems that you can have up to 6 players playing at any given time. And the goal at the end is to play 3 mystery players who I don't know what that's going to look like when we get there.
I didn't even see that.
But the whole goal is to be able to beat the final boss at the end of the season, and that's kind of the playoff.
That's
I don't
cool.
know who that's going to be, but we'll.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm interested. It's just it's really not time consuming at all, and it's a lot of fun for an extra little thing. I really like I'm excited to see like how it develops with, like, if you do have friends. I wish I could connect and see my friends' stuff. Like if they got into the game store or whatever. The downside is it is only on Apple. I tried to do it on my Android phone. It wasn't there yet. I'm sure it'll expand because it's super cool. This week I'm going against Jaden Daniels, with Joe Burrow against Jaden Daniels, and sticking with that theme, going Harvey against Bill Krosky. I think they're going to have a tough time against Green Bay, so I think that might be a couple
Be a good week.
easy grabs. And then Jerry Jeudy against Quentin Johnson, because I think it's not going to be an every week thing, and him being there is it's almost like the best ball strategy, right? These high upside guys that you might be able to get low on their low week, and then they might be anybody.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a good call out. This week I've got JJ McCarthy up against Jalen Hurts, because why not take the risk and see what's going on? He's up against KC, who's a pretty tough defense, so they didn't show up against the Chargers last week. Thank you very much.
Got it hurt.
So Jalen Hurts there and Goddard's hurt. Yeah. Trayvon Henderson. I'm trying for Genty again because I didn't get him last week and I was so close.
Yeah, you got to try it early, I think, with these rookies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
absolutely.
that's true.
I've got Waddle going up against T. Higgins, because that's why not. Maybe they're still on that slow start vibe for a couple weeks. And then Jamar Chase up against CD Lamb to see if I can grab some Lamb.
Grab some Lamb. Cool. So check it out. Link in the description. We'll link the app too, the app link. But I think we'll just do a couple here and there, just updates on what we're thinking about this as we go throughout the season. I think it's a lot of fun. And yeah, iPhone only, but if you haven't started yet, it doesn't matter. I won almost nothing week 1, so you're not that far behind me. So jump in, and you can start anytime in the season. If you're seeing this later in the season, try it out, see if you like it. All right. Anything else?
Fancy football.
So fancy.
So fancy.
All right, y'all. See you around.
Later.